To start off, we have Brenda from Texas Over 50 today, and we want to talk with Brenda about just developing an adventurous mindset. So why don't you tell us, Brenda, and I'll just say, back up a minute. I started getting to know Brenda, gosh, I guess it's been over a year ago. Shout out to Ruthie Gray and her mentorship on authentic online marketing. So if you don't know about her, go follow her. She's always got great tips to share. But that's how I met Brenda, and we've been in this little mastermind kind of group for all that time and have so enjoyed getting to know one another. So that's how we got to know one another. Karen, have you been following Brenda for a while?
Yeah, I think Brenda and I just connected like so many of us. We're midlife women. We share a lot of the same passions, and you can find each other here on Instagram, and that's what I think is so magical about it. So yeah, I know. Yes, definitely. So excited. So Brenda, we can't wait to hear more and learn more, because definitely I need to be more adventurous. Right. Tell us how you do, what you're doing.
Well, I'm all about that.
Let's start off. I'll just ask this question and we can see where it goes. But how did intentional adventure become a part of your midlife passion? And I mean, have you always been an adventure? Did you start off as a little girl with big dreams of being adventurous?
Yeah, I really did. And my granddaughter's in the car, so she doesn't really want to be on here with me, but she's a big part of my adventurous life. I'll say that. But yes, you know, I really started out, I'm a typical Enneagram 9. And so I didn't know about an Enneagram, you know, when we were growing up. I don't think Enneagrams were a thing, or they were, we didn't know it. But I started out being a pretty adventurous little girl. Well, my parents moved a lot, and maybe that either fostered that in me, or I don't know, but I didn't mind it, because I really did enjoy the adventure of meeting new people and going new places. Right. So after I got, you know, grown up, and then Mike and I married, he's not an adventurer. He's a more of a planner and a researcher and a studier. But I still have the list that he and I made when we were newlyweds of all the places we wanted to go, you know, over our married life. And so we've done a lot of that, and it's worked really well for us, because I do have the ideas all over the board, and then he can research and kind of get us a good plan going. And I like that. But when we first got married, we lived in the Texas Panhandle, and you know, Suzanne, you know, Texas is so big. And by the way, Karen, Idaho is still on the list, and I can't wait to come to Idaho.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we would get, we were newlyweds, and Mike would bring home the Money magazine from his office every year when it had the 300 best places to live. And we would sit on the couch, and we'd dreamily turn the pages and say, oh gosh, you know, what would it be like to live in Madison, Wisconsin, or somewhere? But we lived in the Texas Panhandle. Both sets of our parents lived in the Texas Panhandle, and then we started having kids, and we settled in to that, you know, a life where you just, you venture out for vacation, but other than that, you're just going to all the ball games and doing all the things in your small town, or, you know, where you live. So still, over the years, we talked about, you know, would we ever move? Could we ever move? Where would we move if we did? So during a midlife time in our lives, our kids got bigger. Our single mom daughter was where she could do without us a little bit more. And Mike said to me, a recruiter contacted me about a job in Austin. And he actually sent me an email at work and said, would you like to move to Austin? And I said, no. So even the adventurer that I called myself and considered myself to be, I wanted to stay put. You know, I really did. So I said no. And then we went to, he said, let's just go look. I've heard that so many times. Let's just go look. So we did. And that opened up a whole new midlife life for us. And so we had one child left at home, and he was adventurous as well. He said, let's do it. And now I had only been to Austin, even though we live in the same state as all these other cities. I had only been to Austin. It's big. And I had only been once with my family on vacation when I was 13 to see the Capitol. And then we had taken a group of students there once as a couple. So I was unfamiliar and everything. But Austin is a hot spot. And so we got there, and it was like 3 years running the #1 place to live in the United States, which is very interesting because as we looked back on all those years, we had looked at the Money magazine and here we were in the #1 place to live 3 years in a row. So 3 of our 6 years there, that was the thing. And we hit the ground running. Well, once that happened, I became very passionate about adventure because I kind of felt like I had left another life behind. And I thought, I wonder if I would have ever really lived as much as I'm living now, is what I thought. And so I started a blog and I started going to all the places because I met people. And I know you feel this way yourself sometimes because I remember feeling this way. I met so many people who said, no, I've never been to that. I've lived here 20 years and I've never been to that place that's, so scenic or whatever. And so it was fun for Mike and me, and especially me, to be adventurous once we lived in a different place. And then later, he had a job change again and we moved to Dallas 4 years ago. So life is just hugely adventurous for us. And that's how it became my midlife passion.
Brenda, I love that because I can also, and I'm sure a lot of gals listening can relate to that. When you move to a new area, we've been in Idaho here for over 20 some odd years. When you first move there, you're kind of like, oh, we're going to go check out all the cool things. But then you kind of just get in this rut. And I say, well, haven't you been here? Don't you go up to Coeur d'Alene? Don't you go here? Don't you go? I'm like, no. You kind of get in that rut. So our question I have, because a lot of us are not in Texas, but are your adventures limited to only Texas?
No, although I will say that I'm a real proponent for knowing the place that you live. So, every person in every state where they live should really get to know their surroundings and learn about where they are. But no, and I would love to say that I've seen all of Texas, and I haven't, and I just never will. It's just so big. So I don't want to put myself in that box of not seeing some of the rest of the whole United States. Oh my goodness. So no, we do. We just got back from a really neat trip all the way up to Whistler, Canada. That was such a huge adventure. And sometimes those things just come along sporadically, and then other things we do plan to do. We've done a lot of things with our kids. Yeah. So no, not only Texas, but I'd love to see it all.
Well, kids certainly do add to the adventure, right? I mean, it's so fun to do trips with your adult children and grandchildren. But so you mentioned following that 300 places to live or whatever, but how do you come up with your ideas for different adventures? Is it just magazines, word of mouth, or, do you still have that running list?
I still have that running list, and then it changes, and then I add to it, and then cross a few things off as we go. But the way I plan my adventures is I do a lot of online research, but a lot of people tell me, have you been to this place or that? And I always say, thank you for these recommendations, because it's good to know somebody who's been there. So I'll get an idea and I'll look it up, and then I decide, will this work for me with a friend, for Mike and me, or for me with the grandkids, whatever. How do I want to accomplish this adventure? And some things I want to just do a hike with, a good friend, or go to a certain shopping area. But I try to be diverse in all the things. Like I'm not just an adventurer in a certain way. And so when I think about adventure, it goes with, everything from a cooking class to, to learning something new, or to a big hike somewhere in Texas. So it's across the board. I think we all should be adventurous in so many ways.
If you're listening in and you have any questions for Brenda, be sure and type them in the comments. And if you need ideas for adventure, go follow Texas Over 50, because she's been on so many adventures. You might say, oh, well, there's my list right there. So
just click it. I love I've learned this the other day, click that little question bubble, and your question, it'll pop right up and everybody will see it. So I think that's really fun. So Brenda, you were talking about like adventures being even just taking a cooking class, just putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. I love that. So besides that, what would be some ideas if you can't necessarily leave your area, or maybe you just need to do some fun things that are day trips and things like that, besides, like, I love that, just doing a cooking class? What are some other ideas that you have for us?
You know, I often try to say that being adventurous or having an intentional adventurous mindset keeps us thinking about ourselves a little and about every other good thing in life a lot. And so if you can kind of look at it like that, over 50, so many things do change, from aches and pains to our status with our spouses and our children, and so many things change. And so if you can look at all of life as a potential adventure, then it keeps you thinking about your own self a whole lot less.
Yeah.
So for someone who is maybe really cannot go somewhere, is confined in some way or another, I suggest that people read a lot and read adventurous books, read travel books, read books by authors from your own state. That's a really good way to get to know your own surroundings and to see your surroundings from a page, that really describe things in an adventurous way. So I like to advise people to read. And then also, maybe you're confined and you can't really, for instance, I thought about this. I thought, a lot of women say to me, oh, well, I would never be able to do that because my husband only goes to sporting events. That's all we ever do. Well, you can make that an adventure, even something like that, by saying, you know what, I'm not going to let that come between us or be a sore spot. I'm going to join him on his adventures, but I'm going to make mine woven in.
Nice.
So, maybe I'll say to him, I'd love to go with you on that, but can we try a new restaurant on the way or something like that? So if you just look at all of life, even from your chair, even from your own kitchen, even from your own surroundings, the adventure is there.
Love that.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned books. So I know you've written one book and may have another one in the works. Tell us about that in your life.
Yeah. And that's, I was thinking about how adventure has always been a part of my life. And the best grade I ever got on a writing assignment in school was about this girl that had gone to Oslo, Norway, and she'd had this big adventure. And so it really points back to how I've always kind of seen myself as a traveler and whatnot. But I wrote my first book, not about really traveling or anything like that, but all the job changes that we have had over our 42 years of marriage have been, part of the adventure. And so I wanted to encourage people. And I really sat down to my laptop. I wanted to write a book. And I first started thinking about writing a decluttering book because I've done a lot of that. And then I thought, no, I just kind of felt the Lord was telling me, something a little bit more vulnerable than that. And it was a very vulnerable project. So I got up every morning and I started thinking about what would someone need to know. And so, but because of all the job changes we had, I did look at it as an adventure, but I wanted to get real and say, here's what you do. If you find yourself in a position where you or your husband has been downsized, and what do you do next? And especially if you're over 50.
Yeah.
So I looked at it like one of my panhandle storm experiences, because we always used to, get in somebody's basement, or if a big thunderstorm, tornado was coming, we knew how to hunker down and wait out the storm. So I decided that was my title, The Big Hunker Down. How to weather the storm of job loss and make sure that your destiny doesn't wind up in the bar ditch, because in the panhandle, you can go out and, you're on a country road and all of a sudden a storm comes up and you can wind up in the bar ditch, is what we say, if you don't find a place to shelter. So that was the title. And so I wrote that book, and there's 7 chapters, 7 strategies to make it through job loss and job change. So then after that book was written, I was kind of free to go on and talk about adventures. And so I'm on a seasonal Texas Ultimate Bucket List for over 50 years. And so I've written the summer and the spring editions. They're available on Amazon under just search for my name and you'll find them. And then now the fall edition will be published on August 15th. And then I'll be on the winter one, and that one will be forthcoming. So there are 25 different adventures, 25 different bucket list things, if you will, in each book, and none of them overlap. So if you have all 4 books, you have 100 things you can do in Texas.
That's
Wow.
so awesome. So, you know, speaking of that, I have met so many women, as in online friends that live in Texas. And it is on my list now to go, and I'll probably go by myself. I'm one of those women that is limited to travel with my spouse. We have, our oldest son is disabled. So I'm kind of, you know, I get to work from home, which is wonderful. So we kind of have to do our vacations and our traveling separately, or do things really close by. But I have a plan to go to Texas and visit some friends, and I want to make sure, I know I got to go visit Suzanne. And
Pick me up. I'll go with you.
So you said you have these books. Give us your top 3 favorite places in Texas that I would have to go, that I couldn't miss. What do you think?
Okay. I love to answer
this.
It's a hard question. It really is, because even when I look at those books, I'm like, which one of these is my favorite? It's really hard. But I will say that if a person had a month to spend in Texas, then there's more to see.
Sure.
If you only have a week, there's a little less. And then if you have a weekend, I say go to Fort Worth.
Yes.
And so Fort Worth is definitely so Texas. You know, it's got all the rodeo vibe. It's a place where they used to run animals through for sales and stuff. So it's really got some old historic buildings, and they ride horses down the street there, and it's just very Texan. You can buy boots or a hat for yourself and have a great experience there. So if you only have a weekend or a long weekend, I say Fort Worth, and Suzanne can get you there. And then
we're going to get you a cowboy hat.
Yeah,
that's right. And there's Billy Bob's. You can take, that's a really fun thing to do. And that's in one of my books. You can take line dancing classes at Billy Bob's.
So fun.
Yeah, it's a very Texan experience. So that's what I would say. And I can see you there, Karen. I can see you on that dance floor in boots and a hat.
Well, I would probably fit in. I'm from Southern Oregon, grew up with a lot of cowboys. So.
Yeah. Well, you'd like that. But if people have a longer time to spend, I would say hit the big cities, but don't spend all your time there. And my favorite, real bucket list thing to do is Big Bend National Park. But it is very far. And even from here in Dallas, it took us forever to get there. But it was so worth it. It's really, really rugged. And it's been in a lot of Western movies and stuff. So it's a whole different way to experience Texas. But if you have a long time, I say definitely hit that one.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you. That's great.
Well, and it's always a great, especially if you love flowers, coming in the spring, end of March, early April, to see all the wildflowers. I mean, everywhere you go, it's blue or red or yellow. So it's a great time to visit Texas. Yeah.
Oh, I love seeing. Some of the gals are telling us, like, she has Savannah has an aunt that lives in Plano.
Yeah.
That kind of by Dallas area.
Right.
She has a son that moved to Austin too. So come see us. I live near Austin.
I know. We should all get together.
Yes.
Oh, we got to plan that. Wouldn't that be so fun?
It would be so fun. And I was thinking about when I saw what you had posted this morning on your stuff, Suzanne, about National Girlfriends Day. And I was thinking how really great it is to be able to find each other on social media, and I was thinking that, Karen, for a lot of women, merely finding the right makeup is a huge adventure. And so if you cannot do that yourself, it's so nice to find someone who can do it. I remember that, if my mom didn't know how to do it or my grandma didn't know how to do it, I wasn't going to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
But it's so nice to have social media and find people that can help us with these things, and we trust, and that they know where we're coming from. Same thing with you, Suzanne. I mean, the whole hair thing, you do such a great job with that. And I know you help so many women, but it's an adventure.
It is an adventure.
It is an adventure. Yes. When we moved to Austin, my husband retired after working for 30-something years. And I said, I'm not ready to retire. I've got things to do and people to see and here to help. So Savvy in Savannah says, hey, I'm Allison. Hi, Allison. That's actually my daughter's name. So, good to have you here. So Brenda, somebody asked a question, and it must be a friend of yours, to say, hey, where are you headed? I see you're in the car.
On on an adventure?
Yeah, well, my oldest daughter, our oldest daughter lives in a small town called Canyon, and it's just south of Amarillo. It's kind of where we used to live. So she's a banker. She's really, doing a great thing as a single mom. But her daughter's 14 and doesn't drive yet, and it's volleyball tryouts week.
Oh, fun.
And so it's 2 times a day. And she said, if all week, and she said, Mom, can you come and drive her here?
Nice.
And so yes, so that's now. Last time I came, my granddaughter and I, she was going to volleyball camp, and I came to do the driving and all that several months ago or a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. And we made it an adventure by going to every single boutique and place to shop in her small town, which I didn't really think about how many there were. And so we had such a good time. We got something fun to eat, we got something fun to drink, and we could walk all around the square. And then we drove to some of the other shops and stuff. And so I met some new people. She and I found some fun things that we bought for school and everything. So that was a little in-town adventure.
I love that. Love it.
Fun. Finding all the good pie, finding all the good drinks, finding all,
ice cream, all the ice cream.
There you go.
I love the breweries, finding different beer breweries, local,
yes,
sourced in your area, food and bakeries, and so fun. So you totally opened up my mind because, I want to share with both of you, I get really down about it, in this time of my life, I thought, I don't want to cry, but I thought, this will be the time that my husband and I can go do a lot of things together. And, that just isn't how the world ended up and our life ended up. But, I'm realizing there are a lot of things we can do together. Like you said, we can just spend, every weekend going on a road trip or pick a place to go. It doesn't have to be, a European vacation. That just is something we can do. So I really appreciate this. This has been so encouraging to me. So thank you.
Oh, and I think, Karen, thank you for sharing that, because a lot of women have the same story in one way or another. They really do. And so I so empathize with that, because this is a time when I'm really free to go, and I appreciate that, but I can so sympathize with our friends who can't do it. However, like you said, you can do so many things. And that's one good thing you mentioned about a road trip, a day trip. That's one of the best ways to add more adventure to your life, is taking day trips, because it can be as short as a morning or as long as a whole Saturday. Picnics, just see something new. And every time you come back home to your normal circumstances, you're going to feel like you had an adventure. You're going to feel like something changed. You're going to feel a little bit renewed. So I'm so excited to hear what you find to do in Idaho.
Well, and it's even, I think it's a mindset. I mean, you can learn, there's so many things you can do online, classes to take. And, I think as long as we're always learning something and feeling, that sense of what can I do next? Or, what can I bring to my life to, just make it more fun? And I'm sure there are things that couples can do as well. Like we had Jamie and Chris Bailey, Jamie on, and, just following them and learning things you can do together conversation wise. And, we just, sometimes we get in our own little mind and we think, I feel stuck, but we're not, we're not stuck anywhere.
Not stuck. You're right, Suzanne, and I really think too, I love that word intentional. I think when we hit this stage of our life, every day needs to be intentional, right?
Right.
Everything we do needs to be intentional. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Somebody says, when in Oregon, check out local dispensaries. Okay,
yeah. Yeah. Well, Washington also has, I don't know. Does Texas have dispensaries for marijuana? Who knows? But anyway, that's what she said.
I see. No,
I guess I'll have to check on that.
Yeah. Oregon, Washington.
Well, so to finish up, Brenda, what would you say? I don't know if you can choose this one. What's been your most fun adventure you've ever taken?
Oh, that'd be hard.
That's really hard. Although I think the midlife move to Austin has been a big adventure. Yeah,
that's a big change. That's a big change. your life.
I have to tell you that I had even, like I had even gone to the same grocery store for 30 years. So when I moved to Austin, and even the grocery stores were a big adventure. So
Right.
everything
Yeah.
changed. Everything changed when we made a midlife move. And I hate to say this, but because some people think they're really put off by this, but I say, if you get a chance to move in midlife, don't immediately say no.
I
Check
would
it out.
agree. We just moved 3 years ago. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Check it out, because it can be, we felt like newlyweds again. I mean, it was just, there's a lot of, so a lot of people say, oh, I could never move. I would never even think about it. But think about it if you get a chance. It's not all bad.
I
Yeah.
agree with you, because then you're a couple that is seeking to find friends and do things together and check out the area together. So, we moved from the Houston area to near Austin, but found the same thing. I mean, became, just much more of an adventurous, mindset than we were. We were kind of tired of living where we lived, and, we had new things to do and new things to explore. And I mean, every day with, children and grandchildren kind of is a new day, because you never know what they're going to ask you to do or ask, kids to keep or whatever. But that's also fun of the adventure too.
Right.
So, Brenda, are you currently blogging, or are you just writing books?
I'm still blogging. I'm giving a lot of attention to my newsletter. I love writing the newsletter. So I love for people to come on and join us with the newsletter thing. And then I'm writing books. So.
How can they find your newsletter?
Okay, you can find the newsletter by going on the Instagram Linktree link on the profile. It'll take you straight to the newsletter. That's the easiest way.
Yeah.
People can always email me at brenda@texasover50.com.
Oh,
We'll
great.
put that
Spelled out, so yeah.
We'll put that in we'll save this, which I love. I love that we can save our lives. So, any of you gals that have just hopped on, or gentlemen who have just hopped on recently, don't feel like you missed, because we'll save this. Suzanne will put this up, and yeah, definitely. That's so great.
Yeah.
I love reading blogs. I think that's just a great way, and getting personal and learning from someone. Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
Well, thanks so much, Brenda. You've been so encouraging to us all. I hope everyone that's been listening in has enjoyed the conversation. Real quick, if you have any last minute comments or questions, put them down. But like Karen said, we will save this, and you can go back and listen to the replay. We just had such fun talking to you.
It was so much fun. I really appreciate y'all having me.
Here's my idea. I think we need to have a spring Midlife Besties girlfriend weekend, so let's get it planned, because March 31st is my birthday. So what better gift
I like that
plan than a trip with you guys? So
I think that would be great.
All right, we'll be in touch then.
Thanks so much, ladies. Y'all have a great day.
We enjoyed it. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.